There have been a lot of TV revivals as of late, with many more on the way, apparently, and with them always comes the question about who will return and who won't. Well, one of them has happened with a kids show, of all things, in the form of iCarly. Because despite being announced for a return and debuting recently, one thing that was made immediately clear was that one of the more important members of the cast wasn't going to be there. And now we know why, canonically, she won't return. Allow us to show you how the iCarly reboot reveals why Sam Puckett isn't on the show anymore. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 6. iCarly on Paramount+. So let's start at the beginning and go from there, shall we? In 2020, it was revealed that an iCarly reboot was coming. However, the iCarly reboot was not going to be on Nickelodeon like the original series. Instead, it was to be on the rebranded Paramount+. Furthermore, it was confirmed that Miranda Cosgrove, Nathan Kress, and Jerry Trainer were all going to be brought back for the reboot. They were the core of the show in many ways, and fans are already excited to see them back in action for whatever the show brings. However, when it comes to Jennette McCurdy, not only has she not been announced to return for it, a set photo of the sequel/reboot was posted on Paramount Plus's Twitter page, and she wasn't on it. Furthermore, a few new characters were revealed, and one of them has already been labeled as Carly's best friend, which was the role that McCurdy had when she was on the show. So, what happened to her? Well, a lot. 5. Jennette's past with Nickelodeon. To be clear, Jennette as of yet hasn't spoken about the reboot or why she refused to be in it. However, she has previously spoken about stepping away from acting after what she called the psychological trauma of being a child star. This was from a since-deleted bio on her website where she wrote, "I started out as a child actor. That certainly lent some psychological trauma. Sound guys can be especially creepy." That bio has since been updated, but is still hardly positive about her time as a teen actor. It now reads, Jennette McCurdy got her start in child acting, which by her late teen years had brought her success. She starred in Nickelodeon's hit show iCarly and her own spinoff, Sam and Cat. Despite her outside success, McCurdy felt ashamed of 90% of her resume and ultimately unfulfilled, so she turned to alcohol. But since that didn't work, she quit acting and began pursuing writing/directing in 2017. In a HuffPost op-ed, she went into more detail about feeling unfulfilled in her work on the set of Sam and Cat, which she starred in alongside Ariana Grande. Particularly, she spoke about how it re-triggered her eating disorder. McCurdy wrote, "I had also become acutely aware that I was a role model for kids, which I felt like I was supposed to find cool but actually found upsetting." She described why. "My great contribution to society was walking onto an overlit Nickelodeon set, shouting lines about fried chicken. My character liked fried chicken. And that's what kids were looking up to. Granted, we can't all be American Buddhist nun Pema Chodron, but there was something about the shallowness of my success that made me resent it. That resentment festered, providing even more fuel for my disordered eating. I actively began to engage in anorexic behavior again." That's tragic, and the worst part about it was that her tie with Nickelodeon wasn't done yet. 4. Sam and Cat fallout. The ending of iCarly came at a very interesting time on Nickelodeon as another key series in Victorious ended, which was the show that gave birth to the career of Ariana Grande in many ways. Nickelodeon felt that the two side characters of Sam, McCurdy, and Cat, Grande, had potential for a new show, and thus Sam and Cat was born. Not long after the show was made, though, McCurdy went and did an open letter of sorts and noted the concept of fake friends, meaning ones who seem to be your friend but aren't. It was very clear to fans and others that she was talking about Ariana Grande, so much so that she noted that while they used to have fun together, they eventually became estranged because of a certain someone, quote, "loving drama and gossip," unquote. McCurdy even said that working together with said person was detrimental to her mental health. It also came out that the two butted heads a lot on set, and this, among other factors, would lead to Sam and Cat not lasting long on Nickelodeon at all. Adding to that, McCurdy noted that Nickelodeon put her in an uncomfortable, compromising, unfair situation. So yeah, not a good situation overall, and when you compare it to how certain other child stars fared at places like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and more over the years, you start to see a pattern. 3. Child actors. Many would like to write off what McCurdy went through and say it wasn't a representation of other stars and actors. But is that really true? Nope. Look at former fellow Nickelodeon star Amanda Bynes. At one time, she was one of the biggest stars on Nickelodeon, but now she's broken mentally because she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder way too late, and her actions very much destroyed her career. Disney Channel had this happen as well with actors like Orlando Brown from That's So Raven or Miley Cyrus. Even some of the Disney Channel original movie stars that Disney prided themselves on broke mentally and became a series of tragic tales of why child acting isn't the best thing in the world. But it's not just TV show acting that does this to young stars. Movies do it as well. How about Harry Potter, where star Daniel Radcliffe was one of the most known actors in Hollywood because he was Harry Potter, and then once the pressure was off him due to being out of the franchise, he, went off and started getting into situations that shocked fans greatly. And if you want very recent history, go and look at what happened with Drake Bell. It speaks volumes. The point here is that McCurdy is not a lone example of child star pressure and abuse. For McCurdy, she was coming in for iCarly at what many call a golden age of Nickelodeon shows. Everyone wanted this to be a big hit, and that meant putting a lot of pressure on the stars like McCurdy, and as she noted, it broke her. So she isn't doing this reboot because she wants to protect her mental health, something that sadly isn't appreciated enough in the world today, but McCurdy is going to fight for it because it's her life. 2. The reveal of Sam's fate. So, given all of that, how was iCarly going to handle Sam's conspicuous absence? Especially since she was Carly's best friend and one of the driving forces behind her in-canon show? Well, during the first episode of the reboot/revival, where Carly is trying to bring back her show, she notes that Sam is in a biker gang. Yes, for real, she noted that Sam is in a biker gang and that she was honestly worried about the bikers more than Sam, given how Sam's personality was. That's certainly a choice in terms of how to write her off the show, though technically because she's a biker, it's technically possible that she could show up in the future on a bike and go and join Carly for one last adventure. But in truth, it's very doubtful that'll happen. 1. Retirement. Rumors have continued to swirl about whether McCurdy will return to acting, especially with the return of iCarly. But in an interview with Anna Faris, she noted that she's done, and for a very simple reason. I ultimately quit after my mom passed away because with her death, kind of died a lot of her ideas for my life. And that was its own journey and a difficult one for sure, McCurdy said. The whole experience led her to say, I resent my career in a lot of ways, and left her feeling so unfulfilled by the roles that I played and felt like it was the most just cheesy, embarrassing thing. So yeah, she's good, and given that iCarly has changed in terms of its core offering and yet is still its silly little thing, you can't blame her for not wanting to come back at all. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at how Jennette McCurdy isn't going to be on the show and how the iCarly reboot handled what happened to her character? Do you think that this was a worthy send-off for Sam? Do you think that it honestly is in line with what her character was and how she should go out? Or is this their way of just acknowledging that they won't get Jennette back and thus just filling in a plot hole? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.